Welcome, everyone, to What the Force. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host, and joining me for the first time in, like, forever is Hammy.
Hi, everyone. I am way out of shape with the whole podcasting thing.
Don't worry, so am I. I've been recording mostly with my husband, and he's, like, an amazing speaker and, like, never says ums. Like, it's freakish. Like, he's burned them out of his brain. I do not have that down. And I also haven't been doing as many, like, deep dives into the content that Star Wars has been producing because I've been very busy with life and also covering Marvel. This happens. It happens.
No, it totally makes sense.
So why are we here, Hammy? Why? What pulled us out of our closets that we've been hiding, like under our beds? We've been curled up in the corner crying. Like, why are we here?
Yeah, like you mentioned, we on this side of the fandom, we've been in kind of dark mode, and now we are a little bit awake. We're peeking our heads up just to see what's going on, and that's because of this anime anthology called Star Wars Visions. Super excited.
Yeah, it looks gorgeous. And one of the things I absolutely love about anime is how much it just as an art form captures character, emotions, and experiences almost deeper than can be captured in film. You know, like just because of the art form itself, it really gets deep into the emotions that the characters feel and focuses on those and accentuates those because it is like drawn, not or painted, right? instead of performed.
Yeah, you get that full freedom with the stylization, so the aesthetics of what's on screen, as well as the way that they do shots. You just have this full freedom to do whatever you want in animation that you just don't have in live action.
Yeah,
whether because of budget or physical abilities.
And the limits are what the character or what the artists can draw and articulate with their art, which is also sort of like such a wonderful transformation of concepts and ideas and falls very much in line with the things that I absolutely love when Star Wars approaches or goes into a new medium, like when they first went into cartoons, when they first went into 3D animation, when they did the Galaxy Tales or the ones that came out just before TROS.
Galaxy of Adventures.
Galaxy of Adventures. Yeah. Like those...
that is a good connection because Galaxy of Adventures was very much hyped and we all loved it. It was so unique to get the stories that we'd already been seeing obviously on screen, but in a different version and stylized. It was just awesome. I love those little shorts.
Yeah, and Star Wars Visions, like the setup for it, which there are going to be a lot of links in the liner notes. Go and check them out. Hammy was so great and captured so much stuff for this episode. I'm going to link to all of it. But the whole concept was to kind of hand Star Wars over to some anime studios and say, here, you have the freedom to explore Star Wars in your vision.
I think the executive producer worded it exactly like that. These stories are their visions through the lens of Star Wars. And so that's just awesome. Just to go over it really quickly, it's 7 anime studios and they're creating 9 shorts and each one is a different genre and a different influence. So they're going to tackle whatever inspires them in Star Wars. And that's so exciting for us because we want the creators to have a singular vision of what they want to do. And that's what excites us most about Star Wars is having that freedom.
Yeah, and I'm not glued to everything being canon. I mean, I know if you've listened to this podcast for a long time, you know my favorite Star Wars book is The Legends of Luke Skywalker because of how malleable the story can be and how wonderful and wondrous it can be and created through this lens of it doesn't have to be real, right?
Mm-hmm. Just like we discussed earlier, the freedom that you get with the animation style, you get the same thing when it's not canon, right? You can explore what you want to. It's full freedom. You're not beholden to anything, to a larger story or a larger galaxy in this case. You can kind of do what you want. And so that's what makes it so exciting.
And I wish that Star Wars actually would lean more into that and just sort of say everything is canon and really mess with a lot of people.
Oh, no.
No, seriously, because because it's set up like a fairy tale a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. It really evokes the concept of, well, anything that is said could be real. Arthurian legend, mythologies from the past. We hear multiple versions of the same mythologies have existed, right? Because different storytellers were telling them in different ways. And that is how sort of sacred stories and these powerful stories from the past transform and are understood. Like somebody was talking about how, and I forget who it was, so I apologize, but how all stories about Arthur and the Round Table are true. As true as any other story, because there is no truth to Arthur's story. So if you write a story about Arthur and the Round Table and any of the knights, it's as true as any other story out there. So it's just as powerful. And I just wish that we could get that way with Star Wars so that everybody could have a sort of a seat at the table and an experience within this magical world that exists. And to me, this is the first real shot of it, other than other visions like properties that Star Wars has created in the past.
Yeah, we had mentioned Legends of Luke Skywalker. From a certain point of view, it's kind of like that. So they're definitely dipping their toes into that, at least amongst the books. And then my favorite, the Legos. The Lego specials, of course, aren't canon. They're more parody. That's what I think they would consider them. But it's so exciting to be able to experience that, because these are characters, these are themes that we know, and just like another example would be the Mortis gods. Famously, they mentioned that every different societies in the galaxy come up with different versions of the Mortis gods. They could be brother, they could be sister. Similar to that, we kind of get this freedom from this. We get this freedom from this anime series as well. Yeah,
and this exploration of these concepts. Like, we're going to go into them actually quite a bit. We're going to do kind of a speculation spoiler to this point pre-show where we're going to talk about them. And then when the actual episodes come out and they're dropping all on the same day, we're going to record a big, long discussion about everything that we see. But one of the things that just like pinged off of my brain was how many of the creators from the studios, when they were interviewed for this in the kind of special look pieces and also during the one panel that Sleemo covered actually on Twitter and live tweeted about, they talked about how symbolic their art form is. And I was like, yes.
We love symbolism.
I'm like, you're speaking my language, literally.
Exactly.
So just as a reminder, from a Star Wars influence perspective, George Lucas was heavily influenced by, feudal Japan era, right? So we see that throughout A New Hope, samurai-inspired armor for Vader, even down to what Luke and Obi-Wan Kenobi wear, even down to the kendo-like sword style of the actual like fighting style. And he was heavily influenced by Akira Kurosawa, the, of course, director and creator of Hidden Fortress. And so like this is not outside of what we would see. Like the style itself is very Star Warsian already, because George took liberally from the culture, unfortunately.
Well, fortunately or unfortunately, Kurosawa was also himself influenced by Western cinema, and then that's what created his films. And then George Lucas took influence back and created Star Wars. So it's fortunately and unfortunately.
Yeah. Kurosawa was heavily influenced by John Ford from a Western perspective. So, and also George was influenced from a Western perspective. So, these concepts are baked into the DNA of Star Wars from A New Hope. And there's also other sort of spiritual and cultural influences to do with Buddhism and, the feeling of the Tao as well is also influenced in there. And then it all came together into the Force. So, yeah.
So with the Force, and you can obviously see in Kurosawa's Hidden Fortress the influence from the samurai. The Hidden Fortress itself is known as a Jedi Geki, which many people assume is where George Lucas got the word for Jedi. The term means a period drama. So a lot of the shots are really similar to A New Hope. And then obviously the central story of A New Hope is very similar to Hidden Fortress. And George Lucas, admits to all of this.
Yeah. He's like, heavily inspired. And also he like the two peasants inside of Hidden Fortress greatly influenced his creation of R2-D2 and C-3PO as the lens by which he told the story. So it's all there.
Feudalism in Japan, you can see that with 3PO and R2-D2 because they are the peasants, and they find they get mixed up with a samurai and a princess, and so you kind of get to see all of the layers within Japanese culture come through in Star Wars as well. And it's the space opera version of that system of political and social and economic system.
and civil unrest that is happening in the galaxy because of a war that is ongoing between two factions, and this other faction is trying to save the princess from the other faction. Like literally it just all plays out. But George also had a great deal of respect for visual medium creators. In fact, as he worked on creating A New Hope with the concept artists, he would take feedback on this sort of lucid mind imagination dreams and would incorporate those into his storytelling. And he did that with all of his movies. Like he had a sort of an iterative artistic thing that he did. And when I spoke with Phil Showstack, he said that in many ways they did that again when they did TFA as well. So there's a high connection between the visual medium and the artistic creation of just concept and design, and how Star Wars ends up becoming and creating itself. And so there's been two books that I just want to call out that you should check out if you haven't already, because this isn't the first time that they've sort of explored this way of going about it. It's just this is the most animated way of exploring sort of visions, right? So the first was Star Wars Visionaries, which was a comic that was released by Dark Horse originally in 2005 with a set of the concept artists from Revenge of the Sith that all created stories that went into kind of these alternative ideas or behind the scenes ideas that they were inspired to talk about during Revenge of the Sith, and then it was released later. And then Star Wars Art Visions, which they went to concept artists that they had previous relationships with, or people that they were interested in having create a vision of Star Wars in their own art style. And it's a published book, which I highly recommend also getting, because it makes you think about Star Wars in so many unique ways. There's actually a picture of Anakin and Padme in that book that is just absolutely glorious and heart-wrenching, and I want to get the print of it for my wall.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love that.
But that book in and of itself was kind of like the I don't know, the baby, so the baby learning how to crawl so that they could do this, right? Because there was many Japanese concept artists in that, and they viewed things from this kind of a very painted look. And part of the history of anime is that it was about painting the canvas or the screen, the silk screen, and then animating that. And so it has a different feel. And you see that actually inside of the Star Wars Visions title with the brush stroke that creates it.
It was very, even the Lucasfilm logo, they switched up in the trailer with that brush stroke when the music kicks in.
Yes. Okay. So let's get into a little bit about these episodes. So again, if you're not interested in hearing kind of the collection of information that Hammy has pulled together and hearing us discuss what we think will happen, and you want to be fresh when you watch the episodes when they are released, turn back now and come back later. This is a spoiler discussion.
This is a warning. We're about to go into the episodes.
As much as we know about these things.
Yeah, there isn't a ton that we can kind of glean because they haven't released summaries. I think it's a good thing, though, because as we mentioned earlier, the animation style feeds into the themes. It's watching anime, at least for me personally, it just feels it taps into your emotions in a way as you're watching. The visuals paired with the themes and then the characters, everything kind of comes together into, it really feels like you're experiencing an art form as you're watching something. So I think it's great that they aren't giving us too much information and we can kind of just experience it as best we can. But of course, because we want to analyze things, we're going to go ahead and do that today.
Absolutely. So which is the first one, Hammy?
Yeah, so the first one is called The Duel, and it's by the studio Kamikaze Douga. And so The Duel is the one that looks the most like Hidden Fortress, stylistically as well as thematically. It is black and white, except for a few key elements. The Kyber crystal, the lightsabers, the energy blast, it's beautiful. It's gorgeous. So it totally looks straight up like Hidden Fortress, some of the shots even. So basically the one thing that we do know about The Duel in terms of the actual plot is that it's a tale about someone who must choose selflessness, which of course is a core theme of Star Wars.
Yeah. They have to choose selflessness when they're faced with a challenge. And that, we do know that there is a few pieces here. Like we have interesting lightsabers that we're going to experience. Like there's actually a lightsaber sheath, so the lightsaber never turns off, I guess.
Yeah,
which is cool. and
it's very katana themed or katana-esque.
Katana-esque, yeah. And then also there's a lightsaber umbrella that can like spin, which is also super cool.
And it's cool. I mean, obviously, even in the actual movies, seeing that contrast between the glowing of the lightsaber with the background, it blew everyone's mind in the 70s, and it still blows some of our minds in 2021. But seeing it with the black and white background, it's just gorgeous. It's really beautiful to see that the light up. And then of course with the umbrella saber, you're seeing plenty of that. And I think with the katana lightsaber that the main character is named Ronin. There's also a novel that's going to be releasing in October. His lightsaber and then the umbrella lightsaber, they're both very unique and probably something that they could never imagine doing in Star Wars. So it's great that we could just get right from the bat this freedom of creation and action.
Yeah, and also like the astromech has a straw hat.
Yeah, it's totally embracing Japanese culture and aesthetics, everything, the samurai-esque-ness of the Jedi and the Sith, all of it's kind of incorporated into this one short.
Yeah, and it's a story that we really haven't seen except for Obi-Wan, and we really didn't experience him in that way either, which is like a lone warrior like who lives and dies by the sword. We've never really experienced that in Star Wars. So that's why I'm super excited about this story and just an exploration into the concept of honor versus sort of like what is kind of right emotionally from a compassion and selflessness perspective, because those two things kind of sometimes don't equate. There's an idea that you might have something that you need to do because you've sworn to do it, and that's just very opposite of how Star Wars typically takes things on. You have to do the right thing or you slide down the dark side, rather than I've sworn to protect or to do this thing for this master and my honor is worth more than maybe what is right. That's where I hope we get some like emotional complexity.
Yes, definitely. And one more thing to add for this one, the main character, like I mentioned, is named Ronin, which is the Japanese word for a drifter or a wanderer. And usually it means a samurai without a master. So I think there has been, I don't know if it's been confirmed because I'm still somewhat of a newbie Star Wars fan, but a lot of people assumed George Lucas took influence from Ronin for the Sith themselves. So getting to see that here using the word Ronin in the main character's name, and then obviously the novel that we're going to get after the fact, it's cool that we get to kind of include those concepts.
And I have the novel on my iPad. I've read the first chapter and so far it's really good. So more to report later on that. Absolutely. All right, what's the next one?
Yeah, so some of these have a little more information and some have less, so you'll kind of see that as we discuss. But so the next one is Lop and Ochi, or Ochō, Lop and Ochō, from Geno Studio, and this one is the one with the cute bunny character, but not so cute because she's given the lightsaber, and the thing that I liked about this one the most that we are able to see is they said that the design style of this short focuses on the collision between natural beauty and encroaching industrialization, which I think is something that I see a lot in Miyazaki films. It kind of gave me that vibe, at least in terms of themes, that the empire, the industrialization of the empire and the march of technology is coming against the beauty of nature. And so that's really cool. That seems very core to Japanese media. If you've obviously watched, Miyazaki films, you see that a lot. In Howl's Moving Castle, you kind of see that contrast between the castle and nature. And so it also pays homage to the Japanese word wabi-sabi, which means accepting beauty and its imperfections through transient. So all of these, even though it's, the cute, adorable space bunny character, so this is aimed at children, but you get those themes that I think we're really excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. I also love that the main character is non-human. That's so rare for Star Wars to like give us a story from a non-human character as like the eyes of what we're experiencing, because they are the innocent in this story too.
Yes, exactly. That's what the director mentions. Yeah, the director definitely mentioned that as a conscious choice that they made to include a non-human character. So I love that as well. And then, this is also the one in the trailer that mentions how important family is. So that's exciting.
Yeah, this one looks just adorable and like very classic. I don't know, Japanese style too. Mm-hmm. Like everybody kind of looks, especially the garb is very traditional Japanese. And I'm just excited for this one too. I'm excited for all of them. I should
I think that's going to be clear that we're excited for all of them. Okay, so the next one is Tatooine Rhapsody from Studio Colorido. So this one, I think everyone kind of recognized immediately the racetrack, the Bunta Eve racetrack from the Phantom Menace. And then this is also the one that apparently will include, so full spoilers now. We don't have any extra spoilers, but released information. Jabba the Hutt and Boba Fett will also make appearances. And so this is the one where the little, it's kind of chibi influenced in terms of anime style, and so it has the little chibi art guy. He has the electric guitar, and he kind of shoots up into the air, which makes me wonder, is he force sensitive? How is he shooting up into the air? And then it's about a band with a dream to make it big, and also about found family. And so the band also runs into Jabba the Hutt and Boba Fett.
I'm just obsessed with this idea that like one day in the Bunta Eve like track or the racetrack, they're having like races, and then the next day they're having like massive rock concerts. And also like I'm very excited to hear the source music when the band actually performs, and to actually like get a sense for what that music's going to be like. It'll be so good.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about it at the top, but the music I think is going to be an essential part of each of these shorts, and I believe they're going to be each different styles. That's what we can gather from all the information that's been released. This one is going to be rock opera style, and so that's really exciting. So it's not just rock; it's rock opera, which goes into space opera. It's just a little more epic than just a regular rock and roll. But then also, obviously, in the trailer we got that new Force theme, so it's just really exciting to have some new musical cues that we're going to be listening for.
Yeah, and also like just an exploration of hearing the themes from a different style as well. If they pull them in and it fits, like, because we've seen the themes be pulled in, like the leitmotifs pulled in and from a different perspective, and it didn't work because it was used in a way that sort of is oppositional to how we view the leitmotifs. And I'm specifically referring to Tross and Luke and Leia's theme being used for Lando, and over top of Lando talking about things. So yeah, I'm excited to see what happens with that.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Okay, so the next one is a big one that I think was it had a lot of parts in the trailer. It is The Twins by Trigger. So this is about two twins, and Kare, who you see them, it's the iconic image of both of them dueling atop Star Destroyers. And what we've gathered is that the Star Destroyers are connected, they're conjoined, and similarly there are also shots that we can see of Sith cultists. MC and I aren't the biggest fans of cloning, but it's there. You see the twins in the womb. So we kind of, at least for me, I speculate that they are either cloning the twins to become dark side warriors. The inspiration is Luke and Leia, but they're on the dark side, and so one twin is trying to convince the other to turn to the light. And so the Sith cultists, it looks very similar to the laboratory on Tross. They are doing some kind of cloning, so perhaps these twins are a result of that cloning.
Yeah, and it definitely seems like it's post Tross from a setting perspective.
Like right, especially with the laboratory, that would make sense.
Yeah, like the Sith cultists just were like, well, Palpatine's God, let's keep on doing stuff.
Yeah. This is also the one that has the awesome Grievous type lightsaber arms that stick out from I believe the female Jedi, or Sith, and then that wraps around the lightsaber of the other twin. And the other thing that I noticed is this one, I think it looks like the Kyber crystal in like the climax of the trailer. She sticks it into her body, like Tony Stark with his little energy circle, and she sticks it into her armor and then either gains more power or something. But I think it's I don't think it's just a surface level, or at least I hope it won't just be a surface level interpretation of Luke and Leia, but I hope we do get some of the themes about the Force that we love.
Yeah. And also, like, I really love the idea, because especially if she's putting it like in her chest, because Kyber crystals are always referred to as like your heart, and like that there's like that connection. And then if there's something about the Kyber crystals, and I don't know, I'm all about this one. Anything especially that's weird and forcey, which this one will be super weird and forcey. I will ignore. No, I won't ignore the cloning, but I will accept the story as it is given to me and then comment.
Well, I think it could maybe help both of us in terms of our and don't get us wrong, we love the cloning in the prequels. We are all good with the cloning in the prequels and the Clone Wars, but I think it will kind of help as well because it like we mentioned before, the visual aspects also are playing into this. So we're hoping the themes about cloning and twins and what does it mean to be your own, maybe what does it mean to be your own person and to make that decision, or obviously our faves Rey and Kylo were called twins of the Force.
So
you have,
are they exploring the dyad more? Are they it's all good. I'm excited.
yes, definitely.
Weird Force stuff, you said? I'm here.
Right. Okay, so the next one is called The Elder, also by Studio Trigger. This one is about the Master and Padawan, so it's taking influence from that iconic relationship, and it's hard to tell exactly what's going on, but it looks like something is going on with the Elder. So it's a story about a master and Padawan who meet an unknown enemy. And so that's very mysterious. Is it another person? Or it seems almost like Vision-y, where maybe the Padawan has to learn that they could eventually become the Elder, the master. So maybe it's about time and coming to terms with that and your own humanity. It could, there's so many themes that they could pick up on. And the director themselves, we'd mentioned the word Jedageki, which was the influence for the word Jedi. The director themselves, in terms of aesthetics, said this is influenced by that, those traditional period dramas that were in Japanese culture. So, and you can see that as well in the art style of the Elder. I believe it has that shot of the cross sabers and it's in front of the Elder's face. It looks great. It looks great.
I think that what we might actually see is, so if I'm just going to speculate for a moment.
No, go for it.
This is the story that I think is going to be told, and I could be completely wrong. That's fine. I actually think that the Elder is the Master's former master who has gone dark, and then they have to go after him as Padawan and Master. And so it's that skip level familial relationship that we've seen with things like Dooku and Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, like how like Dooku went evil, Qui-Gon died. Like I think that's
the effect of that, right?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the story, because it's not just Master and Padawan; it's Master and Padawan, Master and Padawan,
right, over and over again. Oh, I love that.
I think that's what we're going to get. So, yeah,
because
it has to be personal. I think that that's like a thing I should really call out right now, which is that these stories are always about needs and desires and like something personal, and they have to establish that fairly quickly in these, because they're shorts, right? They're not full-length cartoons, but it will give people that would establish the character's needs very, very quickly and their desires by just saying, former master of the master. Aha.
No, that totally makes sense, and it kind of brings in that personal conflict that we love in the workplace.
Personal conflict in the workplace. Well, maybe not in the workplace, but certainly our fiction. Yes, give it to us.
Yes, exactly. Fictional workplace conflict. Okay, so the next one which I'm really, really excited about. And it's very mysterious, is The Village Bride by the anime studio Kinema Citrus. So this one, it follows a fallen Jedi, but they don't fall in the way that you'd expect. So this fallen Jedi observes a local tradition in a far-off village through the eyes of a bride on the eve of her wedding day, and an unexpected choice she must make to save her people. Ooh. So I'm thinking, I don't think this will be a traditional romance, but the only thing that I could think is the fallen Jedi must have fallen either for family or for romance. If it's not the way you would expect, at least I'm hoping that's what it is, that the fallen Jedi fell for romance. And so they're watching, it could address the Jedi rule about celibacy and duty. So if they're watching a bride who must honor the duty of an arranged marriage to protect her people.
Like oftentimes in like Asian stories, there's the story of the bride that must be sacrificed to be married to like the demon that lives in the mountain. There's many folklores about that out there. So I think that might be what it is that literally the bride has to marry like a demon or an evil thing out there.
Right. Yeah. And that's because that is the tradition
as a sacrifice.
Yes. And obviously mountains are really important in Japanese folklore. The gods are associated with them. And so, yeah, that probably makes a lot of sense. And so the Jedi who's observing this will probably have to come to terms with their own duty.
Yeah, exactly. Like this woman is willing to like marry this horrible creature or be basically devoured as a sacrifice to keep the village safe. And that is quite common from a story perspective.
Definitely.
In China and Japan.
Mm-hmm.
So
the director themselves, they described it as poetic, meditative, and romantically bittersweet. Don't you love those non-happy endings? No, I'm just kidding. No, it's going to, I think as long as they are saying something, I don't mind a romantic, bittersweet ending. Yes. All right.
The next one.
So this next one we know very, very little about. It is Akakiri by the anime studio Science Saru. And it's the one with the beautiful princess who's putting on her eyeliner. With the thumb of her hand in the trailer. And so we really don't know much about this one at all. It's just that it's a beautiful yet painful story about a princess. We love princesses, so it's going to be exciting. But yeah, there wasn't much released about this one.
Yeah, I more princesses in Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's kind of exciting because I mean, we can there's so many female characters in this anime. I know that's obvious to kind of like harp on and preach about, but you know, we have the bunny, we have the bride from The Village Bride.
I can't wait to see the cosplays out of this. Like I'm going to be obsessed for a while.
Yeah, exactly. And then actually what we can talk about with the princess with Akakiri is her putting on her eyeliner kind of reminded me of Padme. And so a lot of we had discussed the Jedi robes obviously being influenced by Japanese culture and clothing, but Padme also has a lot of Asian influences, whether it's the way her kimonos are, her makeup, a lot of it is
the Mongolian design of her queen's outfits.
Yes, exactly. So I think maybe we can kind of draw those parallels in this one.
Yeah, we'll definitely be able to tell more once we see it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, so 2 more to go. The next one is okay, hold on. I'm trying to, because I know how I want to say it, but I don't want to say that. So the next one is T0B1.
Okay.
By the anime studio Science Saru. So this one is about a cute and funny story of an adorable droid who dreams to be a Jedi. And so this one also, it's not exactly chibi style like the Tatooine one, but you'll notice
it was very influenced by Astro Boy. I remember this interview, and I was like, oh my God, I'm going to die. This is going to be my thing because I love droids.
No, as soon as I figured out the summary for this one, I was like, oh, that's MC's jam. But I love it because it's about a droid wanting to be a Jedi, and I thought this was cute. The name T0B1 is to be one. He wants to be one. He wants to be a Jedi. So I thought that was so cute.
The face I'm making is just like, oh my gosh.
It's adorable. So I don't know if the droid will be force sensitive, but that desire of like wanting to be a Jedi, there's a lot there that could be covered. And what does it mean to be human? And I don't really actually know a lot about Astro Boy.
Like one of the core themes was Astro Boy was created to like basically replace the son of the inventor who died, and then the inventor himself died, and he was kind of taken in by like a local guy who raised him. So it's kind of like a adopted father-son story, and then he pretends to be a regular boy and exist within the society, and also is used to be like a superhero because he wants to protect the city that he is part of, right?
Yeah.
So I have no idea what part of that they're going to be pulling from, other than the like Astro Boy wanted to be a hero to protect people around him. So there's probably going to be something of that theme in there.
And the droid, because Astro Boy kind of was he kind of bubbly looking, because that's how the droid kind of looks as well. So definitely aesthetically as well, it was influenced. You can see the influence, and the director mentioned it as well, that it's going to be a retro, vintage feeling.
I hope the droid somehow plugs into the Force somehow, and I will be obsessed with this till the day I die.
Well, that was my main thing, is would the droid be Force sensitive, which I don't think we've seen. So that would be very exciting, and this kind of again gives the freedom to explore that.
Yeah, the closest we've had was a discussion by 000 discussing about how to get the Force if he took off a Force-sensitive person's arm and utilized it with electrodes to use the Force, because he knew he needed the living DNA to do it. That's very dark and Frankenstein-y, and I think that there might have been more of a discussion in DJ Jose Older's.
Yes, that's what I was going to bring up.
Book as well. Last Shot. Yeah, there might have been something of a discussion about that too, because that had a lot of droid human monster themes in it,
right?
As well.
Controlling of the droids, tapping into that. Yeah, I that's what my first thought was as well. And a sidebar really quickly, speaking of just all of the Force stuff that's going to be included in, since this is what the Force, all of the Force stuff that's going to be included. I just wanted to mention, of course, all of the concepts for the samurai. They kind of melded together a bunch of concepts from Zen Buddhism, the Shinto, which it was an influence from George Lucas about the Force, that you're in touch with the spiritual energy in the forest, the mountains, the bodies of water, air, all of that kind of coming together, I think is going to be woven throughout all of these, and I hope at least that's what we've seen from the panel, and that's what we're hoping for, is that they're going to include all this kind of weird Force stuff that we kind of get to explore. And so the next discussion is going to be super awesome, because we'll actually have seen them to discuss in detail all of the themes.
Although people are more aligned to the Force or more able to tap into it, the Force exists in everyone, even in a small way, and that's something that sometimes people forget. Like they literally forget it. I don't know why, but the Force believes in you even if you don't believe in it.
Right. Yeah. Well, this is, and not just human creatures, of course, inanimate beings have the Force in them as well. But I always think of when Paige in the look, here goes the Last Jedi. Yeah. In the Last Jedi, when she holds on to her necklace, and you can feel, and Leia kind of looks up because she's sensing the Force. Yeah. That moment, and then also in Rogue One, the way that Jin kind of just has belief in the Kyber crystals. So even though they aren't Force sensitive themselves, it's around them, right? And it's still you still believe in it, and it influences their decision. So sorry, of course that's obvious for everyone, but
from a leitmotif perspective, the Force is used for non-Force sensitive characters also.
Right.
So
okay, so we've come to the last one. This one, I think a lot of people are super excited for this one. It's called The Ninth Jedi, and it's by the anime studio Production IG. They are the ones who did Ghost in the Shell, and they also did the anime sequence in Kill Bill. So that's a big reason they're excited. But I'm most excited because of the actual story that they're going to be doing. So this one began as 2 shorts. The first one was to be set in a time when the Jedi have fallen into a legend. So very similar to what we're very comfortable there. And so they need to come back as the darkness threatens the galaxy. So the daughter of a lightsaber smith, very cool, very, very cool.
So cool.
is seeking out the Jedi and delivering their weapons back to them so they can come back into the galaxy. And so that kind of, we'll talk about that first one. That kind of reminded me about Rey delivering the lightsaber, but I wonder if the daughter of the lightsaber smith will become a wielder of the lightsaber. I hope so. See? And then the other short that they also combined into this is it's told from the point of 8 warriors who have kind of lost their faith in the Force, because obviously the Jedi have fallen. So they come together and they I think they learned that they are indeed Force sensitive and that they can trust each other with that. And so they ultimately decided to combine both of those together. So she's going to be giving them the weapons, and they're going to be regaining their faith in the Force. Beautiful. I know. So good. So good.
I'm making
to achieve something on the grand scale.
This is exactly what I need from a Star Wars story. Like, oh my God. I'm obsessed with this concept. I didn't actually read this one. Like, I just read the title. I didn't read into it. So,
and yeah, sorry if you're a little bit lost because we don't have the visuals with us. This is the one where she's on the little speeder bike on the water, and she it comes right at the end of the trailer, and so she's getting attacked, and so she kind of jumps onto the water and walks on the water with her lightsaber, and then she cuts the speeder bike in half. I believe that's the one. So the podcast art that MC chose is also from the Ninth Jedi. So it's kind of hard to put it together, all of the different sequences, but that just to jog your visual memory, that's where this one is.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with this idea already because it's also like in so many ways it's something I talk about, which is feminine has to be part of the story. And if she's the one that's bringing back the hope to the galaxy, like that is exactly what we wanted from Rey in so many ways. And I guess we sort of got it, sort of.
Some people would argue we got it, but
yeah, like maybe not quite as successful as literally bringing back the weapon to the Lost Jedi, that have been disillusioned, and how inspiring that's going to be. Oh, I'm loving this so much, Hammy.
I'm really excited. I can't wait to do our, as I mentioned, once we watch it, just to do the breakdown of the themes. And then I think it'll trigger kind of memories in us of the entire saga. And so I'm excited. I think it's going to be really healing and cool.
Yeah, I absolutely am obsessed with this sort of storytelling that steps away from maybe anything to do with the saga. I really wanted alternative stories for so long. Like, I'm like, go back in the past and tell stories about people I don't know. Go into the future and tell stories about people I don't know. And we're getting that. We're getting stories about people I don't know, but I'm ready to fall in love with.
Right. Even, we have the High Republic, which is going backwards, and then maybe in the future we'll get, post-Tross stories. But I would kind of think of this as going sideways. So let's go sideways.
Let's go sideways.
Yeah, let's go sideways in the timeline and see what else is going on. Obviously, these are still in, very much the twins. I think everyone instantly thought of Luke and Leia, whether that's in canon or in Legends. But it's just cool that we get to explore this without the, like we mentioned, the freedom of canon.
Yeah. Absolutely. Is there anything else from what you hope this gives people? Because I know that there have been some naysayers who are like, how dare they make an anime about Star Wars? Like, I mean, to me, this is giving us an opportunity to explore something in a completely different lens.
Right. At least for me personally, this is going to be controversial, but I have not been getting into the live action Disney Plus stories as much. I loved Mando the first season. It's been hard. So I don't know. This is kind of pushing me towards accepting Disney Plus because it kind of gives the opportunity to artists and creators who we otherwise wouldn't see. We don't do a full. I would hope one day we could do a full anime movie, that would be awesome in the theaters. That would be awesome. But it's kind of like, let's do these steps and kind of see what is out there in the galaxy. So I'm totally for let's give the other creators some money to do what they want and do what they need. And I did one thing that I was going to mention with the, Disney, because we're kind of talking meta now, about the Disney Star Wars era. The Japanese influence never stopped, with George Lucas. It's kind of continued, obviously, throughout the stories that we've been seeing. Lucas and Dave Filoni in the Clone Wars, they were influenced by Seven Samurai in one of the Clone Wars episodes. Obviously, Rian Johnson did Rashomon for the Three Visions in The Last Jedi. And then, of course, the Mandalorian was actually influenced by, I don't want to say speculated to be influenced by.
No. Phil talked about it, actually.
Oh, okay. I couldn't remember.
Yeah. Phil Showstack, who is the creative arts director, manager. He manages all of the visual artistic concept arts and makes sure that they are accessible and that people can find them, and he makes sure to distribute them in the right way, etc. Right? He actually said that that Mandalorian was inspired by Lone Wolf and Cub, which was, of course, a Ronin type story about a father and son.
Right. Exactly. So I think, at least to me, I view this as coming full circle, that you know, instead of just paying homage to something, we actually get to hear it straight from the creator. So why not? And I think, you know, we have a few Raylos who are Japanese, you know, who live in Japan or are Japanese themselves. And so for a while they were saying that sometimes even like the Japanese Twitter account, they get content that we don't get. You know, they obviously have them. I believe, is it Leia Prince of Alderaan has a manga. Lost Stars is getting a manga, has been getting a manga release, right? Isn't it? Yeah. So there's other content.
And also Legends of Luke Skywalker was released as a manga too.
Right, exactly. So they've been enjoying this content. And so it's kind of cool that they kind of open this up to a more mainstream audience. It kind of, a lot of, you know, I hope.
And it has like, it has Japanese voice actors as well as English speaking voice actors.
Right,
so you could like
exactly.
experience both, because sometimes the acting will be different. We've experienced that with things like Beastars and other anime that we've watched and either enjoyed in the original Japanese with subtitles or enjoyed the English versions of it.
Yeah, we didn't get to talk about it, but they definitely didn't hold back on the cast list, both from the Japanese side and from the American side. We can probably talk more in depth once we've actually seen the shorts about the individual actors. But that's it. And I think, you know, Bong Joon-ho, when Parasite won his famous Oscar speech about introducing subtitles, you know, that it will open up this whole side to media that you're not aware of. I think this is like the perfect avenue for a Western audience to, oh, I love Star Wars. Okay, let me check this out. And so maybe I'm overly positive, but I kind of see it as a great opportunity.
I just as a shout out to Shang-Chi, and what they did with that movie is it's about 30% in Mandarin. So you're watching like the movie and it's goes back and forth between English and Mandarin, and there's subtitles the whole time. And like my son was totally able to keep up, and it wasn't weird, which I appreciate and I want to see more of in mainstream media.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm Indian, so I've kind of always been reading subtitles. I can speak my language, which is a very minor South Indian language, but Hindi I could never understand because English was my first language. So I've been, since I was a little kid, I've been having to read subtitles and go through that with Indian cinema as well. But I was going to say that even in the trailer for Visions, they released a dubbed and a original language, the Japanese version of the trailer, and then in the English one, I loved it. Maybe I'm remembering wrong, but I believe even in the English version, "May the Force be with you" was still in Japanese, and then it was subtitled at the bottom. So I was like, that's really cute and exciting. So if you haven't watched both versions, go and watch that. And I believe the English dub version still has "May the Force be with you" in Japanese. With
so cute.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm just, oh gosh, I'm really just like, to your point, being able to see this as like a launching pad into other stories. Like, again, like Legends of Luke Skywalker me up. Give me more of this if this is successful. I also think because my kids love anime, like they're obsessed with several animes that are out there, and you know, it is a nice intro point because that is many kids' cartoons nowadays to Star Wars in a different lens. And my hope is that they actually realize like how popular it's going to be, hopefully, for kids.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, for myself, you know, Pokemon was a big deal growing up. So I know that's so like mainstream anime, but obviously, you know, Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon, all of those were really, it was a big deal to get that, you know, in the 90s and the aughts for kids of the day. So to have that, the freedom of streaming is that we're able to watch whatever we want when we want, right? Across, and it's kind of flattened the playing field for the whole world, right? So it's I
have access to Asian dramas across the board. So like, hey, I'm into a Japanese drama today, but also anime. There's less access to the animations from both Korea and from China, unfortunately. Like, those still haven't come over, but it does open up the world. And although anime's been popular since the early 90s here in North America, this is like such an awesome exploit that they've gone into that we have not seen since the Animatrix.
Right. Well, I was going to say MC and I aren't the best examples because we're very diverse in what we watch. But I have already seen, on Twitter and in YouTube, people who are covering this who have never watched anime. So that's what we're speaking of. Yeah, I know. And not in a bad way. They just, have never experienced. So if this is the first thing that they're seeing, then, they're going to go from here and be like, oh, well, what is this studio? What else does this studio do? So
yeah. I think that's super interesting to explore as well. And my hope is, and again, we're just going to have to wait the weekend a little bit until it's out by the time this episode comes out. But I really hope this makes Star Wars brave again. Hammy, do you have anything else to say, or should we save more things for when we talk and deep dive into the individual episodes when we're able to see them?
Yeah, I think we can save it all for the deep dive, but I'm really excited and I can't wait.
So just to confirm, they're all going to be released on September 22nd. And we will be back as soon as we can after that. Depending on if we wake up and can do it. Because at least for me, I think it's 3 a.m. I think midnight for your time. So if the Disney Plus schedule sticks with the Wednesday 3 a.m. Eastern time, then we'll see how quickly we can turn around an episode. Exactly. Yeah. Because I don't think we have a runtime for how long they're gonna be too, so it might take us a day or two to take it to
digest. And I think we want to do a proper, justice to each of the shorts as well. So yeah, they haven't released runtime, so they could be 15 minutes, they could be 30 minutes. I'm thinking it's probably 15 or less if it's 9 shorts. Yeah, maybe overall the length of a long movie, maybe.
Yeah, and I was surprised to hear that they would be dropping them all at once. So to me, that leans into the short idea as well. Mm-hmm. Okay, we're excited to have you back when they drop. We haven't 100% figured out the format of how we're going to go about discussing all of them, but I'm excited to dig into the symbolism, the weird force stuff, the storytelling in itself, the art styles,
music and the mythology, all of it. It's everything.
It's everything. So it'll be a super duper deep dive with Hammy and I. So we expect to see you back when we release that deep dive episode into Star Wars Visions. Hammy, thank you for prepping all of this because you did so much work for this. And
no, it was fine. I was excited.
Where can people find you if they're looking for you online?
Well, thank you, MC, for bringing me back because like we mentioned, we were in dark mode when it came to Star Wars. So I'm excited to be back and dipping my toe into the universe. If you would like to follow me, I'm every day on Twitter at Balanced Padawan. And then occasionally we do write articles on the What the Force site. We probably will get back into that soon at some point. So yeah,
once the world stops crushing us in depression and other things,
everyone knows what's going on.
Once the world stops being as the world is right now, we'll figure that out. But yeah, no, we have a ton of articles actually written by Hammy on What the Force, as well as a bunch of really dope episodes that we've done in the past.
Yep.
All right, take care, everyone. Cheers.
Bye. Have a good night.
Thank you for listening to What the Force. I'm Marie Claire Gould, your host. Our music is orchestral music by Christy Carew for What the Force. We have a Patreon at patreon.com/whattheforce. We like to thank all our patrons, especially those who love and are obsessed with What the Force: Brad, Melody, Night Huntress in Wild Space, Felicia, How Rude, Anna Perez, Macau Mom, Neil, James, Joe Allen D, Christian Luca, Josh Johnson, Scott C, and Susan. Make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube or leave a 5-star review on iTunes or other pod apps. It helps people find the show. Check out our other channel on YouTube or other podcast feeds, What the Fiction. You can connect with us on Twitter at WT Force Show, What the Force Podcast on Facebook, or our website, whattheforce.ca, or on our Discord. Links are in the liner notes. Feel free to reach out and start a conversation. Cheers.